Your anger is not born in the insult. It is born in your decision to let that insult rule you. Think about it. When someone provokes you, they don't place anger inside your chest. They only strike a match. The fire that follows, that's yours. It's your choice to let it burn or to let it die before it spreads. And here is the uncomfortable truth. Anger is not inevitable. It is optional. It is a choice. Stay with me, because in the next minutes you will learn how the ancient Stoics mastered anger, and how you too can transform every insult, every betrayal, and every frustration into strength, clarity, and self-mastery. If you want to master your emotions instead of being mastered by them, subscribe now to Echoes of Stillness, because here we translate ancient wisdom into practical weapons for the battles you fight inside your own mind. Picture this: you wake up tired. The day has already pressed its weight on your shoulders. Then, in traffic, someone cuts you off. You feel the heat surge up your spine. You grip the wheel harder. Your breath shortens. Your heart pounds as if the other driver had declared war on your very existence. Or maybe it happens at work. A colleague makes a careless remark, something that questions your competence. The words hang in the air like venom, and your mind, without asking your permission, transforms them into a dagger. This is the battlefield, not the insult, not the traffic, not the careless remark. But what happens in the breath that follows? Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "You don't have to turn this into something. It doesn't have to upset you. Things themselves have no power to touch the soul." The Stoics knew that the battlefield of anger is not out there, but in here, in the silent space between stimulus and response. But most of us, we lose this battle daily. We confuse insult with injury. We treat the words of others as blades, forgetting that they only cut if we choose to press them against our own skin. And so, anger consumes us. Like fire, it begins small. A spark, a sudden heat. But left unchecked, it spreads. It burns our relationships, our decisions, our peace of mind. It turns us into slaves, not masters. Seneca warned, "Anger, if not restrained, is more dangerous than any serpent." He compared anger to a poison we willingly drink, believing it will harm the other person while it corrodes us from within. Have you noticed how anger leaves you weaker, not stronger? It exhausts you. It clouds your judgment. It makes you say words you regret, slam doors you never meant to close, and carry a heaviness long after the moment has passed. This is why anger is the most deceptive of emotions. It disguises itself as strength, but in reality, it is a leash around your neck. One pull, and you are dragged. The Stoics refused to be dragged. They trained themselves to see anger for what it is, a choice, a decision we make in that quiet, fragile second after provocation. But here's the tragedy. Most of us don't even notice that second exists. We live as if anger is automatic, as if provocation must always lead to rage. We live like slaves to a reflex. But the truth, the liberating truth, is that there is always a pause. And inside that pause is your power. The question is, will you recognize it? Or will you let the spark become a wildfire? When the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius sat in his tent, surrounded by war, betrayal, and political chaos, he faced countless insults and provocations. Yet in his private journal, the Meditations, he wrote a line that cuts through centuries. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. This is the Stoic key. Anger does not come from what is said or done to you. It comes from your judgment about it. The insult is sound waves in the air. The betrayal is an event in time. But the anger, that is yours. that is chosen. Think of it this way. Two people hear the same insult. One erupts in rage, fists clenched, eyes burning. The other smiles faintly, perhaps even laughs, and walks away untouched. The words were the same. The difference was the judgment. Seneca, the great Stoic teacher, reminded us, "We are not harmed by insult, but by our interpretation of insult." And Epictetus went further. "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Here lies the weapon of the wise. The Stoic does not deny the spark of anger. He acknowledges it. He feels the surge, the fire, the tightening of the chest. But then he pauses. He remembers, "This is only my judgment. I can choose another." Imagine if every time someone tried to provoke you, you saw it as a test rather than an attack, a chance to train self-mastery, to prove to yourself that you are free. This is what Marcus Aurelius practiced. He treated every insult not as a threat, but as a mirror, reflecting his own progress. If he could remain calm, it meant his training was working. If he faltered, it revealed where he still had work to do. Now, think about your own life. How many times has anger robbed you of peace, not because of what was said, but because you decided to carry the words inside you? Someone mocks you, and instead of letting the sound vanish in the air, you replay it over and over until the echo becomes louder than the original insult. That echo is self-inflicted suffering. But Stoicism gives you the key to stop this cycle. It teaches you that perception is everything. What you call an attack can be reframed as noise. What you call disrespect can be reframed as ignorance. What you call betrayal can be reframed as life showing you who you can trust. In the modern world, this key is more valuable than ever. Social media, gossip, online comments. Every day, you are bombarded with opportunities to take offense. If you let each one infect your peace, you become a puppet pulled by invisible strings. But if you choose to see each provocation as neutral, if you reclaim control over your judgment, then no one holds power over you. Epictetus compared life to a game of dice. You cannot control what numbers are thrown, but you can control how you play them. In the same way, you cannot control what others say or do, but you can always control whether their actions ignite your anger. This is why anger is a choice, not a sentence, not a prison, a choice. And once you understand that, the chains begin to fall away. You see clearly, no one makes you angry. You make yourself angry by agreeing to play the game. The Stoic key unlocks the door to freedom, but a key is useless unless you use it. So how do you wield it in the chaos of everyday life? How do you transform this philosophy into practice? That is where the next step begins. The Stoics didn't just talk about theory, they built tools, disciplines, daily practices to train the mind so that when the fire of anger sparked, they could extinguish it before it consumed them. In the next chapter, we will learn one of the most powerful tools of Stoicism, the pause. It is simple, it is accessible, and it changes everything. The Stoics did not believe in suppressing anger by sheer willpower. They believed in training the mind, the same way a warrior trains the body. Because when the moment of provocation arrives, it's too late to build discipline on the spot. You need to have sharpened your blade long before battle. So what was their blade? What tool did they carry to face the fire of anger? The pause. It sounds deceptively simple, but this moment, this breath, is the difference between slavery and freedom. Epictetus reminded his students, "If someone succeeds in provoking you, remember that your mind is complicit in the provocation." In other words, no one can make you angry without your consent. The pause is where you withdraw that consent. Imagine you feel the first wave of heat rising in your chest. Your hands tense, your jaw tightens. Instead of erupting, you breathe. Inhale, hold, exhale. Even a single slow breath creates a fracture in the chain of reaction. That fracture is where choice lives. The Stoics taught that freedom is found in mastery of the self. The pause is the training ground of that mastery. But the pause is not only a breath, it is also a perspective. When someone insults you, pause and ask, will this matter tomorrow? Will it matter in a week, a year, 10 years? Almost always the answer is no. You are about to sacrifice peace of mind for something fleeting and meaningless. The pause reminds you of this. It lifts you above the moment and shows you the smallness of the provocation. But the Stoics knew we are creatures of habit. In the heat of anger, you will only act as you have trained. So they developed daily practices to strengthen the pause. Journaling. Marcus Aurelius journaled every morning and evening. In his meditations, he dissected his own reactions, wrote down his frustrations, and reframed them with reason. This wasn't philosophy for display, it was training, it was rehearsal for the battles of the day. Morning preparation. Marcus wrote, when you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, today you will meet with interference, ingratitude, insolence, disloyalty, ill will, and selfishness. All this has afflicted them through ignorance of true good and evil. He began his day expecting provocation, and because he expected it, he was never surprised by it. The man who expects insults is unshaken when they arrive. Evening reflection. Seneca recommended reviewing the day at night, asking, where did I fail? Where did I let anger rule me? Where did I succeed? This constant reflection forged resilience. It turned mistakes into lessons, and lessons into strength. Meditation and breath. Though different from modern meditation, Stoics practiced stillness, silence. They returned to the breath, to notice the gap between impulse and action, to train the muscle of restraint. Imagine if you combined these practices in your own life. Each morning you prepare your mind. Yes, today I will meet difficult people. Yes, today I will be tempted to anger, but I will not be owned by it. During the day, when anger sparks, you breathe, you pause, you choose, and at night you reflect. Where did I hold my ground? Where did I fall? What will I do differently tomorrow? Slowly, you begin to notice something extraordinary. The insults lose their grip. The provocation passes through you like wind through a hollow reed, and the people who once controlled you with a word or gesture suddenly have no power, because you have reclaimed your choice. Seneca captured this transformation perfectly. The greatest remedy for anger is delay, the pause, the breath, the choice. Now, imagine living like this not just for a day, but for a lifetime. What kind of person would you become? Calm, clear, untouchable, like a rock unmoved by crashing waves. This is what the Stoics aimed for, not perfection. Not the absence of emotion, but mastery over it. The ability to say, I may feel the first spark of anger, but I will never let it grow into fire. And when you live this way, something even deeper happens. People notice. Your calm becomes contagious. Your silence disarms. Your restraint inspires. This is the hidden power of the pause. It does not only save you from yourself, it transforms the world around you. The Stoics believed that silence is not weakness, it is strength, because silence is not the absence of response. It is the presence of control. Think about it. When you erupt in anger, you are predictable, easily provoked, easily manipulated. Anyone with the right words can control your state of mind. But when you pause, when you choose silence, you become untouchable. Your calm unsettles the aggressor. Your restraint disarms their weapon, and suddenly, the one who sought to control you loses all power. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. When someone acts out of anger, the Stoic does not mirror them. He rises above them. He shows that he is not a slave to the same impulses. Let's bring this into a modern scene. Picture a workplace, a meeting room. You've worked hard on a project, but a colleague takes credit for your idea. The room is full of eyes, and your heart pounds with fury. You want to interrupt, to shout, to reclaim your recognition. But then you remember, anger is a leash. If you pull, you are dragged. If you resist, you remain free. So you breathe. You let the words hang in the air. You stay silent. The colleague expects an eruption, but it never comes. Instead, you calmly note your contribution later in the meeting, without venom, without aggression. Your composure speaks louder than rage ever could. Days pass, and others begin to notice. They remember not the colleague's arrogance, but your calm dignity. And while anger might have left you looking small, silence left you looking powerful. This is transformation. This is what the Stoics practiced daily, to turn the fire of anger into the glow of clarity. Seneca said, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." Each insult, each betrayal is not merely an obstacle. It is a test of who controls whom. Do you control your anger, or does your anger control you? The transformation happens slowly. At first you may fail. You may erupt, regret, reflect, and try again. But over time, the pauses grow longer, the silence grows stronger, and the anger that once consumed you becomes something you can observe, like a storm you watch from a safe shelter. People around you begin to sense it. They cannot provoke you as easily. Your calm presence becomes a shield, not just for yourself, but for others who are swept into conflict. This is why the Stoics were admired. They were not cold statues immune to life. They were warriors of the mind, men and women who had mastered the hardest battle, the battle within. Epictetus told his students, "Anyone can hold the helm when the sea is calm." True mastery is revealed when the waves crash, when the insults fly, when betrayal cuts deep. That is when silence is power. Now pause for a moment and imagine, how would your life change if you mastered this discipline? Think of the arguments that would dissolve before they began, the doors that would remain open because you did not slam them shut, the nights of peace you would reclaim because you no longer carried anger to bed. What would you gain? Clarity, freedom, strength, but more importantly, self-respect. The knowledge that no one, not even your worst enemy, can dictate your state of mind. This is the essence of Stoic transformation. The insult becomes irrelevant. The betrayal becomes a teacher. The provocation becomes practice. And you become unshaken. Anger feels natural. It feels automatic. But the truth is harsher and far more liberating. Anger is a choice. It is not forced upon you by the world. It is not planted in you by others. It is chosen again and again in that fragile breath after provocation. The Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, did not deny that sparks of anger rise within us. They only reminded us that we hold the power to extinguish them, to pause, to breathe, to choose differently. They saw anger not as strength, but as weakness, a poison we willingly drink, believing it harms others while it burns us from within. But silence, restraint, discipline, these are the true weapons of strength. For the one who rules his own mind cannot be ruled by anyone else. Let us return to the battlefield one last time. Someone insults you. The fire begins to rise. But now you see clearly. The words are sound. The meaning is judgment. And judgment is yours to command. You breathe, you pause, and in that pause, the leash falls away. You are free. This freedom is not found in books, not in theories, but in practice. in the daily habits of reflection, in the expectation of difficulty, in the courage to face yourself honestly. So here are your lessons, 3 reminders to carry into every day. First, anger is never imposed on you. It is always chosen. If you can choose to ignite, you can choose to withhold the flame. Second, the pause is your greatest weapon. One breath, one moment of delay. It is small enough to miss, but powerful enough to change everything. Third, silence is not surrender. It is mastery. It is proof that no one has the power to dictate your emotions without your consent. If you take these lessons seriously, you will notice the shift. You will become harder to provoke, harder to shake, harder to enslave, and slowly you will embody what the Stoics called tranquility, a mind calm and unbroken, a fortress that no insult can breach. The world does not need more anger. It does not need more fire. It needs more stillness. More men and women who can look provocation in the eye and smile because they know the truth. The only true power is mastery of the self. And so I leave you with one last question. What will you choose? The fire that consumes you, or the silence that sets you free? The choice has always been yours. If you are ready to master your emotions and walk the Stoic path of clarity and freedom, subscribe to Echoes of Stillness. Like this video, share it with someone who needs it, and tell me in the comments, what emotion are you struggling to control today? Because the journey of mastery begins not tomorrow, but right now, with the choice you make in this very breath.